Chapter 946. Director. He's my godson. Ningxi was speechless. Shin Mian stared at Xiao Bao's face, her eyes shining brighter and brighter. She exclaimed, "This kid has a great foundation. Are you interested in joining the entertainment industry?" Ningxi's mouth twitched. "He's only 5, okay? So what if he's 5? You have to be famous early. Give him to me, and I promise I'll make him famous." Shun Mian's eyes shone even brighter. His temperament, his eyes, his nose. "I promise he won't be disabled when he grows up." "No, thank you. Of course he wouldn't be disabled. Just look at his father." "Are you sure? Do you have his parents' contact information?" "I'll talk to them." Shun Mian didn't give up. "No need. I can make the decision. He still needs to go to school." "Director, don't mislead him. Okay? Hey girl, so many people want to give me their children, but I don't accept them." Shin Mian followed them for a long time, but Ningxi rejected her heartlessly. She could only leave with a face full of pity. As soon as Shin Mian left, many people surrounded them. "Wow, this kid is so cute." "Yeah, isn't he cute?" Ningxi looked proud. "He's so cute. No wonder Director Shin wants him. I want to hug him." Xiao Bao's eyes darted around. He looked at the elder sister and then at the elder brother. After hearing this, he immediately hugged Mama's neck tightly and buried his little head in Mama's shoulder like a groundhog. Ningxi patted Xiao Bao's back and chuckled. She apologized. "I'm sorry. He's a little shy and doesn't like to talk." "Oh, he's cute even if he's shy. He's so adorable. Actually, I don't want to have children anymore. But if my children could be as cute as him, I'd be willing." Ji Yuming squatted there, holding her face. She was so cute that her heart almost melted. Looking at Ningxi, who was surrounded, Qi Feng's pillow was almost chewed to pieces. First it was Jiang Mai, then Zhuang Kuer, and today, there was a cute little kid who came to visit. Who was this guy? Oh my God. Why is he always in the limelight, trying to please the crowd? Shin Hanshin grunted coldly. Qi Feng immediately echoed, "That's right, that's right." Qi Feng glanced at Kamingyu, who was in the corner. He had originally wanted to pull Kamingyu to the same side, but since he had helped Ningxi once, Qi Feng had already decided to completely exclude him from the 3 swordsmen, even though he had never been one of them. Although Ningxi really wanted to play with the little bun for a while, the next scene was about to start, so she hurriedly kissed the little bun. "Mama is going to put on makeup and change clothes to prepare for work. Be good and wait for me here for a while, okay?" Little Bun nodded obediently as he carried a large pile of snacks given to him by the staff. "Xiao Dao, please help me take care of him." "Okay, Brother Shi, go ahead." Xiao Tao happily accepted the task. "Oh, I just feel that when elder brother Shi called himself Mom, his tone and expression were so gentle, just like this little guy's biological mother." Ningxi had just entered the dressing room. Little Baozi, who was sitting on the chair obediently waiting for her mother, suddenly stared in one direction without blinking. That was Ku Mingyu's direction. Little Baozi stared for a while, then lowered his eyes. Then, he raised his head and stared for a while longer. Then, as if he had encountered a difficult problem, he tilted his head. "Pfft, Xiao Bao, what are you looking at?" Xiao Tao looked at the little guy's cute little face, and her heart almost melted. Little Baozi blinked, then suddenly jumped off the chair and ran in Ku Mingyu's direction. Chapter 947. Xiao Bao ran to stand in front of Ku Mingyu and continued to stare at him without blinking. Ku Mingyu, very soon, just standing there and watching was no longer enough for him. Xiao Bao began to circle around Ku Mingyu, looking at him again and again. His expression was as if he was doing some important scientific research. Xiao Tao was confused and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She coughed lightly and said to Ku Mingyu, "I'm sorry, Mr. Ku. This child may like you and want to play with you." Ku Mingyu stretched out his long arm and helped Xiao Bao, who was almost tripping over a small stone. He looked like he was about to collapse. "It's okay." Not far away, Qi Feng was speechless. Indeed, birds of a feather flock together. Is this child's aesthetic as abnormal as that guy's? There are so many handsome men and beautiful women out there, but he just had to play with Ku Mingyu. Shun Hanshin only looked up and glanced at him, then continued to read his script uninterestedly. Chi Fong complained for a while, flipped through the script in boredom, and then muttered, "The next scene is between Ning Shi and Kamingyu. Oh, Ning Shi is dressed in women's clothes? It's been 2 days since she joined the crew, but I haven't seen Ning Shi dressed in women's clothes. Tisk, it's hard to imagine. Xiao Tao, can you do me a favor? Give me Ning Shi's bag." Yi Chio's voice came from the dressing room. Xiao Tao hurriedly replied, "Okay, right away. Mr. Ku, can you please take a look at this child? I'll be right back." Seeing that Xiao Bao and Kamingyu were having a good time, Xiao Tao asked Kamingyu, "Okay." After Xiao Tao left, Xiao Bao was still wandering around Kamingyu. Kamingyu glanced in the direction of the dressing room. Ningxi should be done with her makeup soon. If she saw Xiao Bao circling him like this, "Don't circle around me." Kamingyu touched his forehead and finally couldn't help saying. When Little Treasure heard this, he blinked a few times and then stopped in front of Kamingyu. However, the pair of crystal-clear eyes never left his body. It was simply like a curious kitten staring at him. She even tentatively reached out her little hand towards his face. In this aspect, this child was surprisingly similar to Ning Shi. Even his reaction was exactly the same. Kamingyu's expression seemed to crack. He lowered his voice and said, "Go find your mother." Fortunately, at this time, Ningxi came out of the dressing room with her makeup and clothes done. Xiao Bao immediately ran towards her. Kamingyu breathed a sigh of relief. Then, looking at the door of the dressing room, his eyes suddenly darkened. At this moment, Ningxi was wearing a pink, one-collared floral dress, revealing her beautiful collarbone, as well as the faintly discernible curve below. Her waterfall-like long black hair formed a soft and beautiful arc around her slender waist. Her beautiful eyes seemed to contain the stars in the sky. Her eyes were so beautiful that they seemed to be out of this world. Before, her skin color might have been deliberately darkened by the makeup artist. At this moment, after revealing her original skin color, it was dazzling white. She looked like she was sparkling as she walked. "Oh my God! Is this our brother Shi? Sister Yichio, did you learn some magical skill? You can transform into a living person." Chapter 948. What godly skill? Brother Shi is a god himself. I'm just adding flowers to the brocade. Yichio looked at the girl in front of him and sighed. This girl was too malleable. "Senior, you're so beautiful." Ji Yumeng was mesmerized. Even a woman like her was about to fall for him. "Oh, as expected of Senior. You're so charming both in men's and women's clothes. I'm finished. I feel like I'm really going to turn gay if this goes on." The only one who remained calm was Xiao Tao, who had been by Ning Shi's side for a long time. "Humph, you only know now that our brother Shi is even more beautiful in women's clothes." In fact, Gigi's biggest worry was that she was too beautiful. Gulp. The sound of Chi Fong swallowing could be heard in the noisy crowd. Ning Shi? The script in Shun Hanshin's hand had slipped to the ground. Hearing someone call her name, Ning Shi turned around with a smile. "HM?" Seeing the girl's bright smile, Shun Hanshin felt his blood flow backwards, as if he had lost control of his 5 senses. His heart raced uncontrollably, and a phrase flashed through his mind. A smile back, 100 charms bloom. I'm fine. He thought that this woman was the same as the female celebrities he had seen before. Their images on TV were all photoshopped and filtered, and the real person was many times worse than them. There were even many people who looked no different from passers-by. This was the first time he had seen someone in real life who completely outshone photos and TV shows. After going through the images, not only did it not make her image more perfect, but it also limited her. He had already looked up her information and thought that he had figured her out, but it was only now that he truly got to know her. Swoosh. Chi Fong picked up his coat and ran over like an arrow leaving the bow. His eyes lit up and he said in a loud and clear voice, "Senior, it's cold. We haven't started filming yet. Put on a jacket first." "Fuck. Chi Fong, you're too good at taking advantage of others." "That's right. You're too fast." Ha ha ha, this guy. While everyone's attention was on Ning Shi In the corner, Kumingyu expressionlessly stuffed a blanket into Little Bun's arms. You know what to do. This time, he used his own voice. Originally, he only sent his son over to make her happy because he felt sorry for his wife. In the end, he didn't expect that after he finally got over his wife, he would fall into the hands of his own son. Rather than letting Xiaobao keep circling him curiously and arousing Ningxi's suspicion, it was better to directly fight for an alliance. Little Baozi looked at his mama, who was surrounded by the crowd, and immediately threw all his curiosity and his father to the back of his mind. He decisively picked up the blanket and ran over. Before Ningxi could speak to Qifeng, a soft and adorable little bun suddenly ran over with a blanket in his arms. He raised his little head and held it in front of her. Ningxi instantly turned to look at little Baozi. She was extremely touched. Oh, for mama? Thank you, my precious godson. Qifeng, who was left to the side, was like a puppy that couldn't please its master, and his face was full of disappointment. Ningxi put on the blanket sent by Xiaobao and said to Qifeng, Thank you. I have a blanket. Wear it yourself. Don't catch a cold. Qifeng was instantly filled with warmth. Thank you for your concern, senior. Chapter 949. Not far away, Shin Hanshin was completely speechless with an expression of what the fuck? Who is this guy? Do I know him? Who was the one who kept muttering in his ear? Who was the one who kept saying this guy? And who even went to release the snakes? Did Qifeng lose his memory? After he was done, Qifeng ran back happily and said in an intoxicated tone, I've decided. From now on, I'm Senior's fan. Lifelong fan. Hey, was there something wrong with my brain before? I've been jealous of and embarrassed a girl. I'm not a man at all. I didn't expect that Kumingyu was the most scheming one. From the beginning, he went to please Senior and asked her for an autograph. Just now, he even saved the damsel in distress. What a mistake. A mistake. As Qifeng spoke, he slapped himself in annoyance. Then, he held his face and stared at Ningxi with an infatuated expression. Oh, she's so beautiful. How can there be such a beautiful girl? Hanshin, I'm so envious of you. You can be the male lead. Shin Hanshin, can't you at least have a little buffer when you change your attitude? This change of allegiance was too fast. Where's your integrity, bro? Forget it. Why did you still complain about Qifeng? Even I. Shin Hanshin picked up the script that had fallen to the ground and subconsciously pressed his heart that was still beating at an abnormal speed. How could this be? He had never felt like this before. He thought highly of himself and looked down on any woman in the entertainment circle. How could it be now? Not bad, not bad. She's even more beautiful than last time. Shin Mian looked at Ningxi and expressed his satisfaction. He really didn't know what to pick on this treasure that he had accidentally dug up. Last time, when she played the cameo role of First Love, she didn't put on any face at all. At that time, she was already stunning. Now that she had put on youthful and bright makeup, it completely matched and even exceeded the image of Ji Feishue in women's clothing in his mind. Come here. Ningxi and Ku, come here. Shin Mian called Ningxi and Kumingyu over and told them about the play. You cooperated so well yesterday, so this play should not be too difficult for you two. You can act normally later. Ningxi, there is something you should pay attention to later. Ningxi stood in front of the director, holding Xiao Baozi's hand, and listened to the director seriously. Kumingyu stood next to Xiao Baozi. This time, the little guy finally stopped staring at him. Once she was done, Shin Mian clapped her hands. All right, everyone, take your places. Let's begin the last scene of the day. When you're done, you can pack up and go home. The scene was about the female lead accidentally meeting the second male lead in female clothing. The acting skills of the two actors were up to standard, and they passed the scene very quickly. The staff all revealed happy expressions. After all, it was so easy to meet such reliable actors. After work, at a fork in the road, the man was walking in a hurry. When he was about to turn a corner, someone suddenly stopped him from the opposite side. President Liu. Ningxi seemed to have been waiting for him for a long time. She took a step forward and directly stood in front of the man. Then she said those 4 words. Senior, Kamingyu was startled and looked surprised. Ningxi immediately flared up. Nonsense. Lu Tingxiao, you're still pretending. Xiao Baozi just circled around you 23 times. Do you think I'm blind? Kamingyu. He had been hoping for a fluke, but in the end, he was still seen. Sigh. It was really a trap. But Lu Tingxiao felt that he might still be able to save himself. I don't know what you mean, senior. You seem to think I'm someone else? The man's face was 30% surprised and 70% puzzled, completely behaving like a stranger. Ningxi frowned slightly. You are really not Lu Tingxiao? Kamingyu said, No. Ningxi nodded. Oh no. All right then. In that case, I'll change the way I ask. As soon as she finished speaking, Kamingyu's eyebrows twitched. For some reason, he had a bad feeling. However, after a short pause, Ningxi looked at him leisurely and continued to ask, Sir, are you really not my husband? Chapter 950. Kamingyu. Lu Tingxiao had never expected Ningxi to be so ruthless. How could he say no to this question? Seeing the man pursing his lips and standing there for a long time without saying a word, Ningxi shrugged and turned to leave. She waved her hand and said, All right, it seems that I was wrong. How could you be my darling? The next second, Ningxi's wrist was suddenly tightened, and a strong force pulled her into a warm embrace. Her body was locked tightly by a pair of arms, and the man's low, hoarse voice that sounded like a cello came into her ears. That voice was repressed and helpless, and it was almost as if he had gritted his teeth and said, I am. With that said, he bent down and kissed the girl's lips hard. In the dim alley, the girl was pinned against the wall behind her by the waist, and she was kissing her forcefully. The cool evening air seemed to be on fire at this moment. It hurts. Ningxi felt that her tongue was going numb, and her lips were stinging. She couldn't help but complain softly. The man kissed her even more passionately. His tone was extremely helpless and doting, as if he wanted to rub the person in his arms into his bones. He gritted his teeth and said, Little rascal. Not to be outdone, Ningxi bit the man's thin lips and said, You're the rascal. If it wasn't for the little treasure card looking for its daddy, how long were you going to hide it from me? The little treasure card looking for its daddy. Okay, that was a good description, Lu Tingxiao said. Always, if she hadn't found out, he was actually going to hide it from her. Ningxi was about to explode when she heard that. Then why did you admit it just now? You could have denied it to the end. I don't have any solid evidence to expose you anyway. Lu Tingxiao sighed softly. You know very well that even if the sky falls, I can't deny it. Humph. Ningxi snorted smugly, looking as if she was relying on the fact that he didn't dare to deny it. Lu Tingxiao loved this side of her the most. His eyes deepened, and he was about to kiss her again. Ningxi pushed him away impatiently. I'm talking business with you. I'm asking you because there are dangerous scenes in this movie. Are you worried? She recalled that Lu Tingxiao had already asked Xiongji to protect her. In the end, she almost got into danger in Philadelphia. Based on Lu Tingxiao's personality, he wouldn't trust anyone else, let alone Xiongji. Was that why he didn't hesitate to come personally? As far as she knew, this kind of ultra-precise human skin mask was not only extremely difficult to make, but it was also very harmful to the skin and the human body. People would feel very uncomfortable wearing it for more than 10 minutes, not to mention wearing it for such a long time. Thinking of this, Ningxi's heart softened. That is part of the reason. Lu Tingxiao didn't deny it. Then, he looked at her and continued, The other reason is because of my selfishness. Both of us are very busy with our work, and our relationship can't be made public, so the time we can spend together is too little. I missed you so much. I'm sorry. The last anger in Ningxi's heart also disappeared. Also, by experiencing this personally, I can get to know you better and have more common topics with you. That way, you might not think that I'm too boring. How could that be? You're not boring at all. I love Boss the most. I love you the most. Ningxi's dissatisfaction had completely turned into heartache and gratitude. She hugged the man's neck and took the initiative to kiss him to comfort him. Chapter 951. Surviving a Disaster. Lu Tingxiao leaned over and kissed the girl. His heart, which had been hanging in the air, finally came back to his body. Ningxi tilted her head and looked at him in surprise. Lu Tingxiao, I never knew that you were so good at acting. You almost robbed me of my job. I have a good teacher to thank, Lu Tingxiao said. You have a teacher? Who? Why didn't I know? Ningxi asked curiously. You. Me. I've read all the books and notes you put in my room, Lu Tingxiao replied. Hearing this, Ningxi didn't know what to say. From customizing a mask to learning acting skills, it would take at least several months to prepare so much. Lu Tingxiao might have been doing these things since they came back from Feiqing last time. She was fully aware of how busy he usually was, and the cases he handled were all big cases worth hundreds of millions. But he still had so much time to do such insignificant things, just to be able to spend more time with her. But he was afraid that she would be angry, so he painstakingly hid it from her. Her profession was generally disapproved by the so-called aristocratic circle, but he was willing to accompany her, understand her, and protect her. No one has ever been so nice to me. Ningxi hugged the man in front of her. Oh, I'm so touched that I want to marry you immediately. What should I do? Now the Civil Affairs Bureau is off duty, but I can call them to come back, or ask them to come home with equipment. The man spoke quickly and his dark eyes lit up. Stop it. Ningxi laughed. Lu Tingxiao sighed and put his chin on the girl's shoulder. Ningxi, we haven't been dating for long. Although it's abrupt to ask this, it's true that I think about it every minute and every second of every day. When can you marry me? Ningxi looked at him quietly. Her eyes seemed to be filled with light that broke through the darkness before dawn. She said solemnly, when I can stand shoulder to shoulder with you. In the car. Ningxi was driving in the front. Lu Tingxiao and Xiaobao were sitting in the back seat. The disguise on Lu Tingxiao's face had not been removed yet. He was still in the image of Ku Mingyu. The little fellow stared at him for a long time. Her curiosity got the upper hand, and she decisively reached out her little hand. This time, Lu Tingxiao had no choice but to cooperate. He leaned over and let him touch. Little Bun touched it again and again. He was very curious about the unknown. Ningxi looked at the father and son in the rearview mirror and clicked her tongue. Lu Tingxiao, do you think Xiaobao has a special ability? No matter what we do, he can still recognize us. Lu Tingxiao pondered for a moment and was not surprised. He had already discovered that his son had such an ability before. Some people had their own unique way of observing that was different from ordinary people. They could discover things that ordinary people couldn't. It's hard to explain. It's probably similar to a dog's sense of smell. It's an observation method that can see through the essence. Damn, how can you compare our son to a dog? All right, there's another question that I wanted to ask. Why don't you get a more handsome face? I heard from the director that you wanted to play the male lead, but you became the supporting actor because your image didn't match. Ningxi asked curiously. Lu Tingxiao said, because I'm handsome enough? Ningxi. Chapter 952. Hearing this answer, Ningxi's mouth twitched and she was speechless. But later she found out that the real reason had something to do with Lu Tingxiao's good looks. After countless experiments and failures, only Ku Mingyu's face was the most natural. Well, there was no room for handsomeness. Ningxi was in men's clothes and Lu Tingxiao was in Ku Mingyu's appearance. Before the show, no one would recognize them. Thus, he brought Xiaobao along to go to the supermarket openly, which was a rare occasion. Honey, let's have hot pot tonight? Tao brought me some hot pot base from her hometown. Ningxi asked. Lu Tingxiao said, okay. Xiaobao nodded. The three of them went to the vegetable and fresh food section to choose ingredients. However, as they walked, they realized that more and more eyes seemed to be looking in their direction. What was wrong? Ningxi was confused. Is this a family of three? What a loving couple. But I think the handsome guy next to him is too ordinary. He doesn't deserve his brother. Damn, what do you know? This is called a gentle wife. It's the best match for this kind of hoodlum. What's a good match? Lu Tingxiao suddenly turned to Ningxi and asked. Ningxi almost spat blood. You don't need to know that. But she was so happy. The devil was a good match, and she was a good match. Ha ha ha. Ningxi didn't expect that two men would attract more attention when they went to the supermarket. So she hurriedly bought the ingredients and went back to the apartment. Back home, Lu Tingxiao used a special medicine to remove the mask on his face. Ningxi looked at his slightly red face and touched it, feeling sorry for him. It's okay. I'll be fine in a while. Besides, I'm a man. Lu Tingxiao comforted her. No, a man's face is also important. Besides, it's about my welfare. Come here. Ningxi pulled Lu Tingxiao to her dressing table and opened her bottles. Don't move. I'll give you a full set of skincare products. Since his wife wanted to serve him, Lu Tingxiao obediently sat down. Essence, water, lotion. Ningxi looked serious as she meticulously smeared the cream on Lu Tingxiao's face. Wait, there's more cream. In the future, you have to wipe your face after washing it every day. Just as she was wiping Lu Tingxiao's face, Little Bun ran over and pointed at her own face, indicating that she wanted it too. Ningxi chuckled. Your father needs it because he's not handsome enough. You're already handsome enough, so you don't have to apply it. Little Bun nodded and decisively accepted this explanation. After the family of three finished dinner, Lu Tingxiao went into the study because he had urgent business to deal with, while Little Bun was urged to take a shower by Ningxi. Baby, do you need Mama's help? Little Bun shook her head shyly and indicated that she could. Ningxi smiled and rubbed Little Bun's head. Aya, my bun has grown up, then slow down. Be careful not to slip. After helping Little Bun fill the tub with water, Ningxi sat on the sofa in the living room with a blanket covering her body. She put on an old but classic foreign language musical to watch. The gentle music flowed in the night air, and the room was quiet. At this time, the doorbell suddenly rang. Who could it be so late at night? Little Bun and Lu Tingxiao were both here. Ningxi looked out through the peephole nervously. After seeing clearly who it was, she immediately opened the door with an incredulous expression. As soon as the door was opened, the girl at the door jumped up and threw herself at Ningxi. Brother Shi. Chapter 953. The girl threw herself into Ningxi's arms and began to cry. Soon, the shoulder of Ningxi's pajamas was wet from crying. Ningxi had mixed feelings. She patted the girl on the shoulder. Okay, don't cry. Come in first. Ningxi welcomed the girl in, changed her slippers, and led her to the sofa. After settling her down, Ningxi hurriedly poured her a cup of hot tea. The girl had long, straight, black hair and long eyelashes like butterfly wings. She wore a hooded windbreaker cloak with a circle of white fluff on the brim of the hood, which made her palm-sized face look even more delicate and fair. She sat there like a delicate porcelain doll. At this moment, the girl was sitting on the sofa with her head down. She looked at Ningxi while crying, like a puppy that had been abandoned by its owner and finally found home. Have some tea. Ningxi handed the teacup to the girl and looked solemn. Even Annie was here. It seemed that second senior brother's information was correct. That guy had really started to develop in China. Thank you, Brother Shi. The girl took the tea while crying. After taking the tea, she looked up at Ningxi and cried even harder. Brother Shi, you look so good in women's clothes. Ningxi held her forehead. Ah, you cry when you see me, you cry when I pour you tea, and you cry when I look good. Why haven't you changed your crying habit at all? But, Brother Shi, you've changed a lot. The girl looked around with a gloomy expression. The furniture in the room was decorated in warm colors, and it was very warm and comfortable. Ningxi was wearing a soft pink coral velvet nightgown at the moment, and her naturally curly long hair casually draped behind her head. Although it was not the first time she saw Ningxi dressed in women's clothing, she almost couldn't recognize her. In just a year, the woman in front of her had changed dramatically, both in appearance and temperament. This strange feeling made her very uncomfortable and even flustered. It was as if the person she knew had disappeared. Silly girl, people always change. Maybe this is what I really look like. Ningxi rubbed the girl's head and then asked, Don't talk about me. What about you? Why did you come back? Is it temporary, or? The girl's expression was still a little listless, I'm not sure. I'll listen to boss's arrangements. Who knows, maybe one day I'll have to run around the world again. That's why I hurried over to see you. Ningxi knew that they had confidentiality rules, and she didn't want to know too much about them, so she just asked casually and didn't ask more. She just cared about Annie. How have you been recently? Annie immediately started to complain. It's not good at all. After you left, boss's temper worsened. He took it out on me all day, beat me, scolded me, didn't give me food to eat, and always said that he would throw me to the old monster next door for a marriage alliance. Brother Shi, come back quickly. I missed you so much. Ningxi looked a little helpless. Although that guy was a little nasty, at most he would just say it verbally, beating her, scolding her, and not even giving her food to eat. No matter how you looked at it, it was a little exaggerated, right? She also knew that Annie deliberately said that to make her go back. At first, when she saved Annie, because Annie was weak, timid, and liked to cry, that guy was very annoyed, and often wanted to throw her into the sea. Fortunately, in the end, she found that Annie had a specialty. Chapter 954. You can't judge a book by its cover. This timid crybaby who loved all furry, cute, and adorable things was a master of her family's inherited medical skills. After knowing this, that fellow finally agreed to let Annie stay. He would never let useless people stay with him, not to mention people who would drag him down. Your ability determined your position in the organization and the benefits you could get. As the team's nanny, Annie was treated well. That was why she could leave. Annie, I'm sorry. I don't know if eldest senior brother told you about my situation, but I can't go back now. Although Ningxi didn't have the heart to say this, it was better to get the pain over with. Annie put down the teacup and grasped Ningxi's hand. Why? Is it because of that man? Could it be that what brother Yi said was true? Are you really dating him? Yes. Ningxi didn't want to hide it from her. Annie panicked when she heard this. She hurriedly said, Brother Shi, I've specially investigated him. That man is not what he appears to be. Do you know how many shameful things he has done in secret to get to where he is today? Maybe you think boss is scary, but he's even scarier than Satan. If you know his true colors. Ningxi sighed and interrupted Annie. Everyone who has reached the top has been killed. Annie, I'm not a saint. It's enough as long as he treats me well. The Lu group was huge and had businesses all over the world. How could it be completely clean and untainted? What's more, Lu Tingxiao could even accept her past in China. How could she hold a grudge against him because of such a thing? Hearing Ningxi's answer, Annie was anxious. She held her hand tightly. Brother Shi, you've been bewitched by him. That guy has ulterior motives for you. Ningxi chuckled. Annie, I don't have anything on me that he can covet. Annie said, Of course not. You're beautiful. Buffed. I'm the one who covets his beauty, right? Ningxi laughed. That's true. Bah, no. Brother Shi, you're so annoying. I was almost fooled by you. Annie stomped her feet and complained. From the information she found, the only thing she recognized was that the man was indeed good-looking. No wonder brother Shi was attracted to him. Annie looked like she was racking her brains. She scratched her head and continued to persuade her. If you like his face, I can help you find someone better looking than him. Actually, to be honest, as long as our boss isn't eccentric and crazy, he's also very handsome when he's normal. No, it's very handsome. Ningxi raised her eyebrows. Has he ever been normal? No. Annie cried even harder. Sigh. Poor child. Ningxi patted her on the back and took a tissue to wipe her tears. Well, don't worry about me. I know what I'm doing. After sobbing for a long time, Annie seemed to have thought of something. Suddenly, her eyes lit up and she hurriedly said, Yes, that's right. I got it. Brother Shi. That man's child was already 5 years old. He had a son, a 5-year-old son. I know. Do you know you're still? That child is quite cute. Chapter 955. It's not a matter of being cute or not. Brother Shi, wake up and listen to me. It's not easy to be a stepmother. There are countless bloody examples in front of you. Brother Shi, Let me tell you, I know a beautiful sister who was young and beautiful before she got married. Ever since she married a man with a child and became a stepmother, in just a few months, she worked so hard that I couldn't recognize her anymore. Another beautiful sister also told me that after she got married, nothing she did was wrong. No matter how kind she was, she would be treated as a donkey's liver and lungs. That child was especially bad. At such a young age, he would frame her and cause her to break up with her husband. There's also a little sister. Annie pulled Ningxi aside and tried to persuade her. She didn't know where this little girl got to know so many stepmothers. It wasn't easy to find so many bloody examples. Ningxi looked helpless, but didn't interrupt her. She just listened quietly. At this moment, there was a click behind them. The bathroom door was pushed open, and then there was a series of footsteps and slippers. Ningxi and Annie, who was talking eloquently, turned around at the same time. Then they saw a little bun, who had just taken a shower and changed into plush cartoon pajamas, with rosy cheeks, walking out, kawaii. In the next second, Annie's scream almost broke through the roof. Then, the little girl rushed to Xiao Bao like a rocket at lightning speed and hugged the little fellow tightly in her arms. Oh my God! Oh my God! So cute! So cute! How can he be so cute? Brother Shi, why do you have such a cute child at home? So cute. I've never seen such a cute little thing. He's even cuter than a furry animal. Looking at Annie, who was so excited that she was about to faint, Ningxi helplessly pinched the space between her eyebrows. She almost forgot one thing. Annie loved small furry animals and all cute things the most. For her, cuteness was justice. No wonder she was so excited when she saw the cute little bun. Brother Shi, which family's child is he? Why is he here? Annie asked eagerly. He's Lu Tingxiao's son. Ningxi answered. Annie. As soon as he finished speaking, Annie was completely dumbfounded. Her expression was one of complete shock. Taking advantage of the moment when Annie was in a daze, Little Bun hurriedly struggled out of the strange big sister's embrace and threw himself into Ningxi's arms. Ningxi picked up Little Bun and gently introduced him. Don't be afraid, Xiao Bao. This is Mama's good friend. Your Auntie Annie. Little Bun blinked her eyes and nodded. Then, she revealed a suspicious expression. Why does Auntie Annie look so sad? Was it because he was pushed away by Xiao Bao just now? Ningxi looked at Little Bun's remorseful expression and chuckled. Oh, maybe you're a little sad because you pushed her away just now. Why don't you go hug Auntie Annie again? Little Bun immediately nodded obediently. Ningxi put the Little Bun down. Go. Little Bun glanced at Mama, and then under Mama's encouraging gaze, she walked over to the dumbfounded Auntie Annie, opened her short arms, and gently hugged her. Oh, seeing that you are Mama's good friend, I'll let you hug me again. Don't be sad. Chapter 956. Feeling the soft and fragrant marshmallow hugging her, Annie's heart almost melted as she looked at the little guy's beautiful eyes, which were as beautiful as the stars above the Arctic glacier. At the same time, she was overwhelmed with disbelief. Brother Shi, are you kidding me? Is this really Lu Tingxiao's son? Lu Tingxiao's son? Are you sure? Ningxi nodded. Yes, I'm sure. He is Lu Tingxiao's son, Xiao Bao. What do you think? I didn't lie to you, right? Isn't he cute? Annie nodded so hard that her head almost fell off. He's so cute. What should I do? I didn't remember to prepare a gift for you when we first met. Annie scratched her ears and cheeks anxiously while fumbling around on her body. She took off the candies and chocolates from her pocket, the small medicine bag from her waist, and even the diamond necklace from her neck, and stuffed them all into Xiao Bao's arms. This attitude, it was a complete 180 degrees change. Just a second ago, Xiao Bao was telling her how miserable stepmothers were and how bad stepsons were. Ningxi kept the candies and chocolates for Xiao Bao and returned the small medicine bag and diamond necklace. These are too expensive. Don't give them to him. He's still young and doesn't need them. You're right. Lu Tingxiao is so rich. Annie muttered as she took back the diamond necklace and stuffed the red medicine bag into Ningxi's hands. Keep this. It's my latest prescription. The herbs inside can protect almost all kinds of poisonous insects. It works. Ningxi took it with a smile. Then I'll thank Aunt Annie on behalf of Xiao Bao. Next time. If I have a chance next time, I'll prepare better. I was in a hurry this time and didn't expect to see Xiao Bao, Annie said embarrassedly. At this moment, Annie didn't mention it's hard to be a stepmother at all. She really couldn't say it in front of such a cute little thing. Such a cute kid. No wonder brother she likes him so much. Ningxi and Annie sat on the sofa again. Xiao Bao sat between them and was curiously studying the small medicine bag in his hand. It's incredible. How can Lu Tingxiao's son be so cute? Annie stared at them for a long time but still couldn't calm down. Although they do look a lot like Lu Tingxiao, it doesn't make sense that they're so cute. Annie stared at it and suddenly stared at Ningxi. Brother Shi, don't tell me you and Lu Tingxiao had this child? The corners of Ningxi's mouth twitched. Honey, you're too imaginative. Papa and Mama gave birth to it? When little steamed bun, who was studying the medicinal pouch, heard this, she immediately revealed a bright and beautiful smile. That's true. Annie pursed her lips. After accidentally seeing little Bun's smile, she was stunned and muttered suspiciously, but, if you look closely, you really do look a little alike. Do I look like that? Where? Ningxi raised her eyebrows. Annie nodded. Yes. Maybe you didn't notice, but I took a closer look just now. When he smiles, he really looks like you. Especially the eyes. As Annie spoke, she suddenly thought of a crucial question. Who was the mother of this child? Ningxi shrugged. I don't know, because even Lu Tingxiao doesn't know. Chapter 957. Annie was instantly enraged. This man's private life is too messy. He doesn't even know who his son's mother is. Annie deliberately lowered her voice and muttered to herself, considering that Xiao Bao was here. Ningxi knew what she wanted to say and said indifferently, it's not what you think. In this matter, he's actually a victim too. However, Annie didn't think much of it. She felt that Ningxi must have been tricked by him. What a pity. How could such a cute little baby have such a scary father? She really couldn't imagine what kind of abyss of suffering the little baby and brother she would be living under Lu Tingxiao's cruel rule. Ningxi looked at Annie's anxious expression and helplessly held her forehead and sighed. What was this girl thinking about again? She wondered if that guy had instilled some nonsense into her. Otherwise, why would Annie always have a worried expression as if she was being abused? As the two of them chatted, the door to the study behind them opened and Lu Tingxiao walked out. Ningxi turned her head when she heard the sound. Lu Tingxiao, are you done with your work? Did I wake you up? Who? Lu Tingxiao? Annie immediately looked in the direction of the study and saw a tall man wearing the same blue pajamas as Ningxi standing at the door of the study. The man wore a pair of glasses on his face and held a coffee cup in his hand. He looked very relaxed, gentle, and at home. However, the way he stood at the door made it seem like he was filming a fashion blockbuster. Most importantly, the man did not have the slightest bit of cruelty and hostility that the rumors said. He was like the most ordinary husband who came home after work. He wasn't a monster, but an ordinary man, except that he was a little too handsome. Lu Tingxiao looked at Annie on the sofa. Ningxi walked over and held Lu Tingxiao's arm. She pulled him over and introduced him. This is a good friend I met when I was in China, Annie. Annie, this is my boyfriend, Lu Tingxiao. Hello. Lu Tingxiao nodded slightly. Although he wasn't very enthusiastic, he was still very polite. Hi. Hello. In Annie's mind, Lu Tingxiao had always been a ruthless tyrant, or even a monster. So, she couldn't associate the human in front of her with Lu Tingxiao. Lu Tingxiao looked at his sleepy son and walked over to pick him up. Xiao Bao seems sleepy. I'll take him to bed. You guys talk. Knowing that the sisters hadn't seen each other for a long time and had a lot to talk about, Lu Tingxiao considerately gave them some personal space. Little Bun seemed a little unhappy. She put her head on Lu Tingxiao's shoulder and reached out to Ningxi. She didn't want to sleep. Lu Tingxiao rubbed his son's head. It's late. don't be stubborn. Your mother and Annie haven't seen each other in a long time. They need to talk. Little steamed bun could only nod as she listened. She yawned delicately and then lay on her papa's shoulder. Your mother and Annie. Such a natural sentence. Also, he treated his son so gently and lovingly. Annie was dumbfounded. This was completely different from the Lu Tingxiao that she knew. What exactly went wrong? Chapter 958. Annie, what are you thinking about? She waved her hand in front of Annie, who was in a daze. Brother Shi, is he really Lu Tingxiao? Why does he look like a human being? No, I mean, he looks quite gentle. Human being? Shi laughed. Of course he is. What else do you think? I thought he was scary. Shi touched her chin and thought for a while. Well, strictly speaking, he does have a scary side, but he is gentle in front of me in Xiaobao. In fact, when I first met him, I also thought he was scary. At that time, I even gave him the nickname the Devil. Hearing this, Annie suddenly understood why Shi was with Lu Tingxiao. Such a man gave all his gentleness to one person. At first, she thought that maybe brother she treated Lu Tingxiao the same way as the men she had dated before. But now, she gradually became sure that it was not that simple. This time, he was afraid that she was serious. At this time, Ningxi's cell phone suddenly rang. Sorry, let me take this call. Well, it's okay, Annie said hurriedly. The call was from Qiao Weilan. It should be about the studio, so Ningxi picked it up immediately. Hello, Director Qiao? All the 9 sets of clothes have been given. I have just sent the list and information of the donors to your mailbox. Please check it. Qiao Weilan's tone was as neat as ever. Okay, I'll check the mailbox later. Thank you, Director Qiao. The effect of this gift can be seen in at most a month, or at least half a month. You just need to wait. During this period, I wonder if we can improve the appearance of the studio. After all, this is not only the place where we work, but also the place where we receive customers in the future. Fortunately, you reminded me. I'll tell Momo to leave the design style to Shangzhe. Don't worry about the funds. I'll handle it. When Ningxi was on the phone, Annie quietly watched from the side. In addition to Brother Shi at home, she unexpectedly saw another side of Brother Shi at work. Every one of them was something she could never have imagined. Although the Tang Shi she knew was carefree and unrestrained, she was always lonely, as if she didn't care about anything, even her own life. But now, she saw something shining in her. Ningxi had just finished the call when Lu Tingxiao came out of the room after putting Xiaobao to sleep. He was holding a brown stuffed bear in his hand. Is Xiaobao asleep? Ningxi hung up the phone and asked. Yes. Lu Tingxiao nodded and walked over to Annie. He handed the little bear to her. Miss Annie, this is little Bao's gift to you. There was even a gift in return. It's so cute. Annie was overwhelmed by the favor. She took it and hugged it in her arms. Thank you. Please thank Xiaobao for me. At this moment, her view of Lu Tingxiao had almost completely changed. The person who could raise such a cute and sensible baby must be a very good person. Does Miss Annie have any research on medicinal herbs? Lu Tingxiao suddenly asked. How did you know? Annie was a little surprised. I saw the medicine bag you gave Xiaobao, Lu Tingxiao said. Chapter 959. That. I did a little research, Annie said. Ningxi smiled and said, Annie, you're too modest. Lu Tingxiao, don't be fooled by Annie's adorable appearance. She's very good at medicine and is very talented. Annie was a little embarrassed and hurriedly said, Not as good as you, Brother Shi. Lu Tingxiao muttered to himself for a moment before taking out a yellowed, thread-bound book from a drawer. I happened to obtain an ancient medical book a few days ago. If Miss Annie doesn't mind, I'll give it to you as a meeting gift. Thank you for taking care of Xiaoxi when you were abroad. No, thank you. I didn't take care of Brother Shi. She has been taking care of me. And this medical book is too expensive. Annie could tell at a glance that the medical book was very expensive, and it was the only copy, which was priceless. Ningxi put the book in Annie's hand. Just take it. It's useless to us anyway. Besides, who said you didn't take care of me? You were the one who took care of me when I was injured several times. Well, okay, I'll take the book. Thank you. Annie was silent. She didn't think it was necessary for her to stay here anymore. She took a deep breath and smiled. Brother Shi, I'm so happy to see you today. It's late. I'll leave you alone. So soon. I'll be in China for the time being. We'll have a chance to see each other in the future, as long as you don't mind me. Ningxi and Lu Tingxiao walked Annie downstairs. Lu Tingxiao was waiting downstairs, and Ningxi walked Annie to the car. Drive safe. Well, you know, I drive like a snail. It's impossible for me to drive fast, Annie said with a smile. The night was quiet, and the moonlight was cool. Annie clenched her fists, loosened them, and clenched them again. After a while, she looked up at the person in front of her and said in a trembling voice, Brother Shi, you really can't come back, right? Ningxi sighed and hugged her. Annie, everyone has their own life. I'm like that, so are you. Live your life well, and don't worry about me. I'll live well too. Annie sniffled. I admit that I was really worried before I came, but Xiaobao is so cute, and Lu Tingxiao is also a good person. Brother Shi, I wish you happiness. Apart from this sentence, it seems that anything else I say is unnecessary. Thank you, I will. After saying goodbye to Ningxi, Annie waved her hand, opened the car door, and started the engine. The car slowly drove away from the apartment. In the rearview mirror, she vaguely saw the man draping a thick coat over the girl's body in front of the building behind her. The girl raised her head and smiled at him. The two of them chatted as they hugged each other and went upstairs. It turned out that Brother She was a good person, really a good person. She had someone she loved, a dream, and a career. Life was much better than before. Why let her come back? They went upstairs. As soon as they opened the door and entered the room, Ningxi hugged Lu Tingxiao's waist and raised her head to thank him. Boss, thank you. Lu Tingxiao leaned against the door. Thank me for what? Ningxi raised her head and looked at the man in front of her seriously. Thank you for being so nice to my friend. You know that she is from that side, right? Lu Tingxiao said, I just need to know that she is someone you cherish. Chapter 960. Ningxi thought for a moment and guessed with a smile. This time, Annie is probably here to persuade you, but she's obviously been convinced by you and Xiaobao. Lu Tingxiao subconsciously hugged the girl tighter, a trace of undetectable coldness flashing in his eyes. I won't let you leave me, no matter who comes. I won't leave you either, no matter who comes. There was an abandoned luxurious villa in the north of the city, which used to be the residence of the rich and powerful in the capital. As time passed, because no one lived in it for a long time and people died in it, there were often horrible incidents. Now, it had become a famous haunted house. Not only could it not be sold, no one dared to go near it for dozens of miles. At this moment, a black car slowly stopped in front of the villa in the night. A girl in a cloak got out of the car and walked towards the door. With a creak, the girl reached out and pushed open the heavy door of the living room. In the large European-style hall of the Middle Ages, the walls were hung with simple oil paintings, the windows were colored retro glass windows, the wooden spiral staircase, and the fireplace in the hall was burning with charcoal, emitting heat and light. On the sofa opposite the fireplace sat two men and a woman. The man sitting alone on the sofa was wearing gold-rimmed glasses and was wiping a soft sword in his hand. On the opposite sofa was an older middle-aged man who was flipping through a thick German book on his knees. Next to the man was a beautiful woman with a hot body. She was bored to death and tilted her head with one hand while twirling a gun in the other. Seeing that Annie had returned, the beauty put away her gun and immediately stood up to greet her. Annie baby, how is it? How is it? There won't be a problem with you. Little junior sister can't bear to see you cry. Hearing this, Annie lowered her head and said weakly with a listless expression, Sister Xiao Xiao, I'm sorry, I've let everyone down. How come? Feng Xiao Xiao said, looking at the stuffed bear in her arms curiously. Where did this thing come from? Hearing this, Annie's little face instantly lit up and she said happily, Xiaobao gave it to me. Oh right, Xiaobao is Lu Tingxiao's son. He's very, very cute. Especially his beautiful eyes, as pretty as brother Shi. And he's very obedient and sensible. I gave him a small medicine pouch, and he gave me this in return. Also, Lu Tingxiao gave me a medical book to thank me for taking care of brother Shi when I was abroad. Lu Tingxiao is completely different from what you've described him to be. He's very kind and isn't as scary as the rumors say. He's very gentle to brother Shi and very polite to me. He's very gentlemanly and polite. Annie's clear and melodious voice echoed in the spacious hall like a skylark. Feng Xiaoxiao. Tang Yi. Feng Jin. Seeing the three of them staring at her at the same time, Annie was a little confused. She said timidly, why is everyone looking at me? Did I say something wrong? Tang Yi adjusted his glasses and remained silent. Feng Jin continued to flip through the book as if nothing had happened. Feng Xiaoxiao rubbed her forehead and wailed on the verge of breaking down. Haven't you realized that you've been instigated to betray us, my darling? You were the one who was supposed to pull him back. Why did you change sides? He had suffered a double loss. It's a huge loss, a huge loss. Lu Tingxiao really isn't easy to deal with. Now that there's a little one, the damage is doubled. Chapter 961. Annie seemed to have realized it too. She said tearfully, what should we do now? She didn't know what was wrong with her. She had unknowingly forgotten about her mission and was even convinced in the end. Feng Xiaoxiao spread out her hands. Eldest senior brother used force last time. This time, it's your turn. It's useless now. What else can we do? Due to Annie's failure, the atmosphere was heavy. No one said a word. At this moment, a faint voice came from one of the rooms upstairs. Little bait. A bear and a lousy book are enough to buy you over? The voice echoed in the empty hall. It was cold and frightening. Annie's shoulders trembled when she heard the voice. Her face turned pale. She looked up and said, no, it's not like that. Lu Tingxiao is really like the rumors say. Huh. Annie heard the cold voice upstairs and saw Feng Xiaoxiao's anxious gaze. She immediately fell silent and didn't dare to say anything good about Lu Tingxiao. You've all grown up. Who allowed you to bring her back? Annie didn't dare to say a word. Feng Xiaoxiao rubbed her nose and acted like a quail. Tang Yi was about to speak when Feng Jin pressed his shoulder. Feng Jin said, I came up with the idea. It'll be great if Tang Shi can come back. If not, we won't lose anything. She'll come back. She'll cry and beg me to let her come back. Annie and Feng Xiaoxiao's expressions darkened at the man's gloomy voice. Feng Jin said expressionlessly, Satan, we've just arrived in the country. The most important thing now is to establish a foothold. Please don't be distracted. Moreover, this is Lu Tingxiao's territory. There's no need to alert him now. As for Tang Shi, please leave it to me. I'll give you a satisfactory answer. Finally, there was dead silence in the house, and no sound came from upstairs. They seemed to have agreed with Feng Jin's words. Feng Xiaoxiao's eyes flashed with worry when she heard Feng Jin's words. She smiled ingratiatingly and leaned in front of Feng Jin. Mr. Advisor, what do you plan to do? Feng Jin glanced at her, then at Annie and Tang Yi. He said coldly, carry out your duties. This isn't something you should worry about. With that, he turned around and left. Feng Xiaoxiao scratched her head as she watched Feng Jin leave. Feng Jin is different from us. We're friends with little junior sister, so we wouldn't really hurt her. But he's different. I don't know what he's trying to do. Tang Ye's thin lips parted slightly. Feng Jin is right. This isn't something we should worry about. As for little junior sister, there will be people who will worry about her. This matter ends here. No one is allowed to interfere without permission. Oh. After Feng Jin and Tang Yi left, Feng Xiaoxiao immediately pulled Annie to the side and asked anxiously, Annie, what exactly happened? Hurry up and tell me. Annie sat on the sofa, glanced at Feng Xiaoxiao, and said, Brother, she is beautiful in female clothes. Lu Tingxiao is very gentle, and Xiaobao is very cute, obedient, and adorable. The three of them are very happy, that's all. Feng Xiao Xiao. All right, I won't ask anymore. My baby Annie has obviously been completely instigated. Chapter 962. Xiao Weilon had predicted that it would take half a month to a month, but in fact, it was even shorter than she had predicted. First, it was the birthday party of Miss Wang, a socialite in the capital. She had always had good taste in clothes and liked to try new personal fashion brands. At the birthday party that day, she wore a retro Chinese-style dress. The dress was like a flaming cloud, which made Miss Wang look bright and beautiful. That night, she outshone everyone else. As soon as the party ended, many ladies went to ask about the brand of her dress. After asking around, they found out that it was a gift from her friend in the fashion industry. It was designed by the mysterious designer ZX, the winner of this year's Golden Top Award. It was the latest design that hadn't been released yet. Even Qin Shengyue loved it. Zhe Ling spread the news in the circle. Those who had been given it but didn't plan to wear it all wore it to show it off. A few days later, a lady in the circle had her dress spilled when she attended a banquet. She didn't have time to change it, and the dress that Xiao Weilon gave her was in the car. The lady loved international brands and didn't want to wear this kind of low-quality brand. She had no choice but to change into that dress. That night, after the lady changed into the peacock blue Chong Sam, she won the praise of all the female guests. They all said that the design was exquisite, and it complemented her temperament as if it was tailor-made for her. Many middle-aged ladies of her age also came to ask about the brand of her dress and who made it. After that was the most recent, and also the most sensational one. General Zhuang Zhongren, together with General Zhuang Liao Yuan and his granddaughter Zhuang Kuer, received the national VIPs from various countries. It was broadcasted on the national news. On that day, General Zhuang's granddaughter, Zhuang Kuer, wore a dress that was dignified and lively. Most importantly, this dress perfectly combined fashion with Hua Nation elements. It even received praise from international friends, who praised the charm of Hua Nation clothing on the spot. Without a sound, Zhe Ling became famous all of a sudden. From the socialite circle to the upper-class circle, she even received strong support from the state and a sum of money to support national brands. Although a few million was not a lot, the key was that Zhe Ling would have the opportunity to represent the country on more important occasions in the future. Oh my God, boss, we're famous, we're popular. Our phones are about to explode with calls. Orders. It's all orders. Han Momo was so excited that she jumped in front of Xiao Weilon and bowed seriously. Director Xiao, you are so awesome. I apologize for my previous doubts. It's really amazing. Xiao Weilon glanced at Ning Shi, who was busy looking at customer information. In fact, I just wanted to find a way to open up the market. Chapter 963. Hearing Xiao Weilon's words, Ning Shi looked up from the pile of documents inside. To be honest, I was shocked too. I owe Kuer a big favor. I must treat her to a big meal after this. Boss, there are so many orders. Should we start making new products now? I'm afraid we don't have enough manpower now. There are only 10 craftsmen making advanced customizations. Ning Shi looked in Xiao Weilon's direction. Director Xiao, you should have a plan, right? Since Xiao Weilon dared to propose the desperate method of sending clothes directly, she must have a plan next. Xiao Weilon said briskly, my plan is to temporarily decline all orders. If they ask, just tell them that the goods are out of stock. All advanced customizations need to be booked 3 months in advance. Customers who book successfully will be served one-to-one by our team and tailored according to their image and temperament. Decline all orders? All? Han Momo's eyes widened in shock. It was all money. Much more money than last time. But this time, she was not so impulsive. Instead, she carefully thought about Xiao Weilon's intentions. Director Xiao, you mean that the rarer something is, the more valuable it is? Xiao Weilon nodded. That's right. For customers, it's easier to get rid of things that are too easy to get. The more they can't buy it, the more precious it will be to them. If they take everything they want, They will soon lose interest and even feel that everyone's clothes can't show their uniqueness. This is why history's popularity in the circle of socialites passed so quickly. For a small profit, they will ruin the high-end market. Ningxi snapped her fingers. Okay, let's do that. We also need to renovate the store, prepare supplies, and recruit staff during this time. Xiao Weilon paused and then continued. In addition, there's another piece of good news. The time is ripe. I've already selected several agents with good strength. Our physical flagship store can be opened. Wow! Hooray! Han Momo pulled Gong Shangze and cheered excitedly. Ningxi was also filled with emotion. Finally, they had finally made it. Shangze, are you okay? After the flagship store, we will definitely need a lot of ready-made clothing designs. Ningxi asked with concern. Gong Shangze smiled and took out a huge stack of design drafts from the drawer. I've already prepared them. Ningxi's eyes glowed as he stared at the design drafts. With just a glance, he knew that they were the best works of his inspiration. Damn, too awesome. My partners are all too reliable. It feels so safe. Boss, you are the one who gives people the most sense of security. You can always do things that I think are absolutely impossible. Han Momo said with her starry eyes. In fact, she also said what Gong Shangze was thinking at the same time. All right, stop flattering me. I'll definitely give you a raise next month. There's even a bonus, boss. I love you. Okay, go to work. I'll take a call. The phone rang. Ningxi walked to the balcony and answered the call. Congratulations, Boss Ning. Qin Xingyue's voice came from the other end of the line. Ningxi smiled. I don't deserve to be called boss, Boss Qin. Don't be humble. Even I have to praise you for developing to this stage in such a short time. What's more, I didn't expect you to subdue my trump card so quickly. TSK. Looks like I won't be able to take back this trump card after this year? Qin Shengyue joked. Ningxi raised her eyebrows. Sigh. Maybe this is the charm of personality. You little girl. Qin Shengyue chuckled, then said faintly, however, can you tell me who your mysterious designer, ZX, is now? Chapter 964. Ningxi was silent for a moment, then asked, I wonder, do you know the predecessor of history? The predecessor of history? Nick Hang? A personal brand with a lot of potential. I noticed it back then. Dai Wei's design was too clever. Nick Hang was just missing an opportunity. After Ning Shuelua invested in it, it really took off. Ningxi's expression was cold. ZX is the real founder of Nick Hang. What? Qin Shengyue sounded extremely surprised. She clearly didn't expect things to turn out this way. She finally understood where that strange feeling came from when she was comparing Zhe Ling and history. All her questions were answered. Therefore, her guess was right. Dai Wei was the real plagiarist. No, more accurately, he was the one who had stolen the book. Although this result was unexpected, it was completely reasonable. I see. Then it makes sense. But why didn't you say anything about this? Qin Shengyue asked in confusion. Ningxi said nonchalantly, Heh, who would believe a weakling's words without evidence? But it doesn't matter anymore. One day, I'll clear the name of my designer in front of the world. At the balcony door, Gong Shangze was looking for Ningxi. He was about to push the door open when he heard Ningxi say that. Without warning, his eyes turned red, and his heart felt like it was hit by something. The young man clenched the design draft in his hand, took a deep breath, and left quietly. TSK, you're talking big, aren't you? Qin Shengyue smiled. Somehow, she felt that it wasn't a big deal to her. Then I wish you good luck. Remember to buy me dinner. Of course. In the following period of time, many socialites and rich young men who wanted to please women called Zhe Ling almost every day to ask about it. Some even came in person. However, no matter how powerful or famous they were, or how much money they offered, it was all to no avail. Zhe Ling's reply to the public was that it was out of stock and they needed to make an appointment in advance. It was hard to get an advanced custom-made piece from Zhe Ling. Even so, the number of appointments only increased. It was half a year later, and it was still increasing. Many of the socialites, especially the upper-class ladies, were financially strong and business-minded. They offered to represent Zeiling's ready-made clothing, which would also greatly expand Zeiling's business. In just over a month, Zeiling had opened a main store and 3 branches in the capital city. They were also expanding their business in other provinces. If all went well, they could plan to enter the international market next year. At night, at the Platinum Gold Palace, Ningxi specially cooked a sumptuous dinner and opened a bottle of red wine, which was rare for her. Congratulations. Lu Tingxiao raised his glass to the girl. Looking at the godlike man in front of her, Ningxi lightly touched the man's wine glass, raised her head and drank, "Thank you." When Little Bun saw this, he immediately picked up his glass of milk, unwilling to be outdone. Ningxi chuckled and clinked glasses with him. She propped her chin on her hand and sighed. Alas, it's so smooth. It's unreal. You've taken one step at a time to get to where you are now. You're well prepared, so there's no need to worry, Lu Tingxiao said. Looking at Lu Tingxiao lecturing her like a life mentor, Ningxi held back her laughter and nodded seriously. Teacher Lu, you're the best. Chapter 965. After dinner, Ningxi suddenly remembered something important and hurriedly looked at the little baby. By the way, Xiaobao, there's something I need to trouble you with. Can you write a piece of calligraphy for Mama? Xiaobao immediately nodded happily to be able to help Mama. In the study, Ningxi diligently prepared the ink and paper and then began to grind the ink. Because Xiaobao couldn't reach the table, he was carried by Lu Tingxiao to a small stool. Xiaobao tilted his head and asked Mama what to write. Ningxi thought for a moment and then said, "Help me write. Once the wind and rain turn into a dragon, the dragon roar of the 9 heavens startles the heavens and changes, the wind and clouds meet and roam the 4 seas." Xiaobao nodded, then picked up the brush and began to write. During this period of time, Xiaobao's training had not fallen behind. His physical fitness was getting better, and the strength of his brush was also more stable and powerful. His strokes were like a swimming dragon on the back of the paper, and the calligraphy was extremely penetrating. "My baby is getting better and better." Just as Ningxi was praising it, Lu Tingxiao glanced at her. "Is this a gift?" Ningxi was surprised. "Boss, how did you know?" "For who?" Lu Tingxiao asked again. "Well, for Gong Shangzi. How about it? Isn't this sentence very suitable for him?" Ningxi was feeling proud, but she didn't get an answer from Lu Tingxiao. She turned her head and saw that it was indeed someone who was jealous again. Pfft, jealous? Ningxi leaned her head over with her arms. Lu Tingxiao looked at her expressionlessly. "What about me?" Seeing Lu Tingxiao asking for a gift like a child, Ningxi was really hopelessly moved. She couldn't help leaning over and kissing the man's thin lips. "Is this okay?" The man's expression was barely satisfactory. Just as he was about to take the initiative, a piece of rice paper suddenly inserted between the two of them. Xiaobao held up the rice paper with a serious face. There were a few big words written on the rice paper. "Baby is angry." Lu Tingxiao. Ningxi couldn't stop laughing and hurriedly kissed Xiaobao on the cheek as compensation. Sorry. Baby, don't be angry." Xiaobao was satisfied. He picked up his personal seal and continued to work. Late at night, the moon was bright and the night was as cool as water. Ningxi drank some wine, so she stayed in the villa for the night. In the middle of the night, Lu Tingxiao lifted the quilt and got up. He gently pushed open Ningxi's room. As expected, there was no one inside. Xiaobao was not there either. Just as he was feeling anxious, the man's moonlight shone through the window and he saw a vague figure in the small garden. Lu Tingxiao picked up the blanket on the bed and hurried downstairs. The night breeze gently caressed the leaves. Under the moonlight, Lu Tingxiao saw a girl sitting on a swing with a can of wine in her hand. "It's already so late. Why aren't you sleeping?" Lu Tingxiao quickly walked over and draped the blanket over the girl's shoulders. He also felt her hands to see if they were cold. "Boss." Seeing the man, Ningxi immediately clung to him like a koala and rubbed her head against the man's neck. I'm happy. I'm so happy I can't sleep. Are you that happy? Lu Tingxiao stroked the girl's head with a helpless expression. Ningxi nodded repeatedly with an extremely serious expression. Of course I'm happy. I'm one step closer to marrying boss. Lu Tingxiao was obviously stunned. Then he coughed lightly and said calmly, well, you should be happy. Chapter 966. However, even though he looked calm, the bright light in his eyes betrayed his good mood. But no matter how happy you are, you have to sleep. It's time to go back. Lu Tingxiao took the wine bottle from the girl's hand. Ningxi opened her arms. Hug me. Lu Tingxiao naturally agreed to such a request. Lu Tingxiao carefully put her on the bed, but Ningxi didn't let go. Stay with me. Lu Tingxiao hesitated for a moment, but in the end, he agreed. Ningxi lay on the bed. After a while, she opened her eyes again and looked at the man lying beside her. Mr. Boss, I'm drunk. Lu Tingxiao said, yes. Ningxi lay on the man's chest and poked him with a finger. She asked curiously, it's such a good opportunity. Why don't you take advantage of it? Lu Tingxiao held the girl's moving hand and said expressionlessly, you have to work tomorrow. Ningxi was puzzled. Is there a connection between the two? Lu Tingxiao said calmly, if I take advantage of it, you won't be able to go to work tomorrow or the day after. He meant that she wouldn't be able to get out of bed for a few days. Boss, you're so dirty. Ningxi immediately put on a look of accusation and then snorted to expose him. Isn't it because you said before that you have a principle of not accepting premarital sex? Lu Tingxiao said, did I say that? Ningxi was speechless. The next day, after work, Ningxi went straight to the studio and gave the piece of calligraphy she had asked Xiao Bao to write last night to Gong Shangze. Thank you, boss. Gong Shangze was touched. He had mixed feelings when he saw the words, when the wind and rain meet, it will turn into a dragon. Haha, you're welcome. I can't write this. I asked someone to do it. It was written by a great master. Keep it well, and it will definitely rise in value in the future. Ningxi joked. Gong Shangze looked at it for a long time and hung it in the most conspicuous place. Seeing Ningxi coming, Xiao Weilan immediately hurried over in high heels to report to her. Boss, in order to ensure the rights and interests of agents, the capital can only open 5 branches at most. At present, there are 3 branches, and now there are 2 places left. These are some suitable candidates I just picked out. Okay, let me have a look. Ningxi put down her bag and took the documents from Xiao Weilan's hands. Before he had time to read it, he saw another stack of documents on Xiao Weilan's desk. Those are some of the partners who applied for agency. Xiao Weilan explained. Ningxi subconsciously picked up the file at the top and looked at the familiar name in surprise. Lu Xinyan? Yes, she is the cousin of Lu Group's president Lu Tingxiao. Boss, have you heard of her? Xiao Weilan asked. I've heard about it. Ningxi nodded and said, why? Does she not meet our requirements? Lu Tingxiao's cousin is qualified in terms of status. Chapter 967. Xiao Weilan was worried that Ningxi was worried about Lu Xinyan's identity, so she explained to her. Ningxi smiled ambiguously. That's good. I don't want to cooperate with this person either. Boss, a large number of branches are out of stock. We need to urgently transfer a batch of goods from the main store. Han Momo ran in breathlessly with the phone in her hand. How many sets do you need? Ningxi asked. Han Momo handed over the form in her hand, a total of 52 sets. Compared with the otherworldly and retro beauty of Zhe Ling Haute Custom, the quality of Zhe Ling's ready-made clothes was also very sincere. They were strictly checked from design to material, and strictly limited the number of pieces of the same type of clothes, so that they wouldn't run out of stock. Therefore, the sales were very good. So many. Ningxi glanced at the form and found that most of the clothes were relatively expensive, which added up to a high value. Most of the employees were newly hired, so they couldn't just let others do the work. I see. I'm free now. I'll go to the main store to transfer the goods myself. Zailing's main store was in the largest luxury shopping mall in the center of the capital. Not long ago, Ningxi asked Zhuangkuter to go shopping. When they passed by the flagship store of history, she sighed with emotion. She didn't expect that today, her store could be located in this expensive place. Ningxi called the main store in advance and told them that she was going to transfer the goods and asked them to prepare. Then she rushed to the central shopping mall with the driver. When she arrived at the shopping mall, Ningxi was walking to the main store. Unexpectedly, she met several acquaintances when she took the elevator. In the elevator, Guan Ziyao was holding a noble and elegant woman intimately and talking to her with a smile. Next to the woman was a lovely girl who was also coaxing the woman. Guan Ziyao, Yin Rui, Lu Xinyan. When Ningxi realized who was in the elevator, she had already stepped into the elevator. Behind her, the door of the elevator closed automatically. At the same time, the three people in the elevator were also stunned when they saw Ningxi. The atmosphere was a little strange. Miss Ning, what a coincidence. We meet again. Guan Ziyao was the first to speak. Guan Ziyao was wearing the latest champagne-colored Prada dress suit, carrying an LV bag worth hundreds of thousands of yuan in her hand, and all the jewelry on her body was precious. Her posture was calm and elegant, as if there was no grudge or conflict between her and the person in front of her. After a brief moment of surprise, Yin Rui looked at Ningxi calmly and did not speak. Miss Guan, Miss Lu, Mrs. Lu? Ningxi only nodded slightly as a greeting, as long as the etiquette was passable. Then she stood quietly at the side, not intending to speak more. How unlucky. I was just happily shopping. How did I end up running into this woman? Lu Xinyan held Yin Rui's arm with an unhappy expression. Lu's whisper. Ningxi looked subconsciously at her. Looking. Ningxi, she was surprised. Surprised. Ningxi's Yin. Yan's Lu, she's. The ink and bird pattern dress on Lu Xinyan was obviously Zai Ling's high-end custom-made dress. Ningxi had seen it in Gong Shang's design draft and was very impressed. However, this was not the one Xiao Weilon had sent before, because Lu Xinyan was not on the list. It was probably an order made before the studio released the news that the goods were out of stock. Chapter 968. Sensing Ningxi's gaze on her, Lu Xinyan looked a little smug. She held Yin Rui's arm and said, Auntie, I'll take you to a great clothing store later. It just opened recently, and I'm sure you'll like the style of the clothes there. Yin Rui smiled helplessly. How can I wear the clothes that you girls like? No, no. There are many that suit you too. Especially someone as elegant as you. Besides, you look like a little girl standing next to me in Xiaojiejia. What a glib tongue. How can you spout nonsense? Although Yin Rui said so, she was still elated. All women cared about their looks, no matter how old they were. However, to be fair, Lu Xinyan's words were not exaggerated. Compared to people of her age, Yin Rui did take good care of her looks. Auntie, Xinyan isn't joking. When I was shopping with you, I met a few acquaintances who asked me when I had a sister. Guan Ziyao said with a smile. Yin Rui, who was at the side, was amused by the two girls and couldn't stop laughing. Guan Ziyao seemed to be making Yin Rui happy, but in fact, she was saying it for Ningxi to hear, a few times. This meant that Guan Ziyao and Yin Rui were very close, and they often went shopping together. But I'm afraid most of the new brands are not very reliable, right? Guan Ziyao said worriedly. Lu Xinyan quickly said, Sister Ziyao, don't worry. Do you remember the peacock blue qipao that Mrs. Feng wore at the banquet last time? Auntie, didn't you say it was beautiful? That qipao is the brand of the family I'm talking about. A few days ago, when Miss Zhuang and General Zhuang represented the country to receive foreign VIPs, she also wore this brand. It's a pity that premium custom-made clothes can't be bought anymore. You have to book it at least 3 months in advance. But I went to the specialty store last time, and the ready-made clothes are also very good. You can wear them normally, and the main store has more styles. Really? Yin Rui was a little tempted by Lu Xinyan's words. The gown that Mrs. Feng wore last time left a deep impression on her. It was indeed very good, and it was also the style that she liked. For a member of the Zhuang family to wear such attire to attend a reception of this level, there should be some sort of guarantee. Yes, yes. Eldest aunt, just believe in my foresight. Do you think the clothes I'm wearing look good? Not bad, very nice. Right? This is one of the items I managed to snatch before I ran out of stock. The elevator slowly ascended, and as they spoke, they arrived at their destination. Ningxi was going to Zeiling's flagship store. Lu Xinyan, Guan Ziyao, and Yin Rui happened to be going there too, so the four of them got off the elevator together. Seeing that Ningxi also got off the elevator, Lu Xinyan looked displeased, but she couldn't say anything. She just snorted and left with Yin Rui. In order to get rid of Ningxi, Lu Xinyan deliberately pulled Yin Rui and walked very fast. Ningxi didn't want to get too involved with them. It would be awkward if they walked together, so she deliberately fell behind. Halfway there, her phone rang. It was the manager of the main store. He told her that the goods were being transferred and asked her to wait for a while. Seeing that Ningxi not only followed them to the same floor but also entered this shop, Lu Xinyan, who had been holding back her anger, finally couldn't stand it anymore. What's wrong with her? Lingering like a ghost. He even followed her into the store. Even if he wanted to curry favor with them, there was no need to do this. Don't you know how annoying you are? Lu Xinyan's voice was loud enough for Ningxi to hear. Guan Ziyao tugged at Lu Xinyan. Ziyao, I'm just here to look at the clothes. What clothes? She clearly heard our conversation in the elevator just now, so she deliberately followed us. Okay? Do you think I'm a fool? Lu Xinyan tugged at Yin Rui angrily. Aunt, don't bother with such a person. Yin Rui frowned slightly. Although she didn't say anything, she couldn't help but feel uncomfortable that the other party was using such a method to get close to her. Chapter 970. Looking at Lu Xinyan's angry face, Ningxi said indifferently, Is this shop owned by Miss Lu? Did others have to ask for her permission to come in? Lu Xinyan froze for a moment. Then she realized what Ningxi meant and said angrily, You? So what? Don't tell me you didn't come in here to get close to Aunt? Ningxi wanted to say something, but she just shook her head with a smile. She went straight to the rest area and sat down, closing her eyes to rest while waiting for the shop manager to bring the goods over. Last night, she had been drinking until midnight. During the day, she had been filming for a whole day. After that, she had gone to the studio and rushed here without stopping. She was already exhausted. Why should she waste her energy on extra people? Look at her. Speechless. She's just sitting there without buying any clothes. She's obviously here to make her presence known. Guan Ziyao shook her head. Have you ever seen anyone trying to make their presence known? She's just waiting for someone. I've never seen it before, but now I've seen it, Lu Xinyan mumbled. Yin Rui didn't want to dwell on this matter. She patted Lu Xinyan's shoulder and said, Let's look at the clothes. Seeing Yin Rui's displeasure, Lu Xinyan stopped talking. However, when she thought of Ningxi's words just now, she was furious. So what if she didn't open it? She had planned to open an agency store, but the other party replied that she didn't meet their requirements. It was unbelievable. As Lu Tingxiao's cousin, no one dared to disrespect her. It was just a new brand, but they dared to disrespect her. However, she really liked the design of this brand, and she felt that she wouldn't make a mistake this time. She definitely wouldn't lose out again, so she didn't give up. By the way, Aunt, look at this one. It's very suitable for you. I found it when I came here last time. Fortunately, it hasn't been sold yet. Although it looks good, it's very picky. I think only you can wear it. Looking at the beautiful Chong Sam embroidered with a large begonia, Yin Rui's eyes flashed with amazement. Yes, it's good. Yes, yes. Aunt, I'll give it to you. I don't even need to try it on to know that you'll look good in it. Lu Xinyan asked another shop assistant to help her wrap up the clothes. Little girl, don't tell me you have something to ask of me? Yin Rui couldn't help but laugh, caressing that dress. She really liked it. Lu Xinyan shook Yin Rui's arm and said tentatively, "Auntie, you're too smart. Actually, I do have a small matter that I need your help with. I was wondering why you were trying so hard to please me today." "What is it now?" Yin Rui teased. "That's right. Actually, I wanted to open a Xilinx representative shop, but the other party rejected me. He even told me that I'm not suitable for it. I have money and resources, so what's wrong with me?" "Why are you thinking about managing a clothing store again?" Yin Rui felt a headache coming on. "Xian Yin, listen to your father and be a spoiled princess. Or you can go to Tingxiao's company and ask him to arrange a stable position for you. Isn't that great?" "I don't want to. I just like doing business. Auntie, please help me beg my cousin. As long as he says the word, everything will be settled," Lu Xinyan said coquettishly. Yin Rui looked helpless. "Xian Yin, it's not that Auntie doesn't want to help you, but I can't really say anything to your cousin. Why don't you try asking him yourself? There were so many relatives in the family. If anyone went to look for Tingxiao for the slightest matter, wouldn't Tingxiao be overworked? Therefore, she would reject such requests as much as possible. She wouldn't bother her son, even if it was Lu Xinyan." When Lu Xinyan heard that, she immediately drooped her head, looking like she still had a lingering fear. "How would I dare to go to him by myself? He's obsessed with that woman, and I accidentally offended that woman last time. Maybe that woman whispered something in my cousin's ear, and my cousin is still holding a grudge against me. Sister Xiao, why don't you help me talk to my cousin?" Chapter 971. Since Yin Rui refused, she obviously didn't want to trouble Lu Tingxiao. Guan Ziao couldn't go against Yin Rui and help Lu Xinyan. Compared to Lu Xinyan, Yin Rui was more important. Therefore, Lu Xinyan advised, "Ziao, your cousin is very busy these days. Don't bother him with this." Hearing Guan Ziao's answer, Yin Rui was obviously satisfied with her. However, Lu Xinyan was obviously not happy. Guan Ziao thought for a while and continued, "But it's not like there's no way. Although I'm not familiar with this country, I can help you ask my friend if he can talk to the person in charge of Xiling." "That's great. Sister Xiao likes you the most." Lu Xinyan cheered. "You. Wait, I'll make a call for you. But don't get your hopes up. It might not work." "Sister Xiao, it will definitely work." Guan Ziao walked to the corner of the shop facing the window and flipped through the phone book. Finally, she dialed Mo Lingtian's number. Among her friends in the country, Mo Lingtian had the widest social network and connections. "Hello, Lingtian." "Hello? Xiao, you're looking for me?" Mo Lingtian's joyful voice came from the other end of the phone. After all, Guan Ziao rarely called him. "Lingtian, I have something I need your help with. Is it convenient for you?" "Of course. How can it not be convenient for you?" "What is it? Just say the word and I'll do it for you." "Of course. It's not about me. Xian Yin wants to be the agent of a brand called Xiling, but they didn't pass the review. I just came back to China and don't know many people, so I was wondering if you could help me find some connections." "Ah, so it's Xian Yin." Mo Lingtian's tone suddenly lowered a few degrees. Lu Xinyan was a member of the Lu family. Guan Ziao was so concerned about Lu Xinyan. Was there a need to ask who she was doing this for? "If it's not convenient for you, then," Mo Lingtian interrupted her. "It's not inconvenient. Wait for me. I'll ask for you." "Thank you," Guan Ziao said gratefully. "If you can get in touch, tell them money is not a problem." "All right, I got it. You don't have to be so polite with me." After Mo Lingtian hung up the phone, the indifferent look on his face was immediately replaced by loneliness, and bitterness spread from the corner of his mouth. When had he ever had the heart to reject her request, even though he knew she was doing it for another man? After calming himself down, Mo Lingtian immediately sent someone to inquire about Zhe Ling's situation. In the end, this small studio was quite mysterious. The designer used an anonymous code name, ZX, and no one knew who the boss behind the scenes was. In the end, he had to use some private means to investigate further. After all, The Mo family was best at intelligence gathering, so it was very easy for them to investigate this matter. With this check, he was dumbfounded. Holy shit, Zayling's boss was actually that little rabbit? From the information he had gathered, Zayling's studio was a dark horse in the fashion industry, and its momentum was catching up to history, which had a huge international impact. He was becoming more and more unable to understand this little rabbit. Since it was Guan Ziyao's request, Mo Lingtian did not dare to delay. He immediately called Ningxi after checking. Chapter 972. At the same time, Ningxi, who was sleeping in the lounge, was woken up by her cell phone ringing. He looked at his phone. It was an unfamiliar number. Ningxi picked it up. Hello, who's this? Hello, it's me, Mo Lingtian. Do you remember that I'm not a bunny? Oh, Master Mo, of course. In the shopping area, Guan Ziyao heard Ningxi say Master Mo. She looked a bit strange, but didn't pay much attention to it. Hehe, that's good. Mo Lingtian said in a flattering tone, Bunny, you're awesome. I heard that you're Zayling's boss? Ningxi raised her eyebrows in surprise and sat up straight. How did you know? Did Lu Tingxiao tell you? You don't need to know. I want to ask you for a favor, Boss Ning. Can you do me a favor? Just for the sake of Lu Tingxiao. I'm Lu Tingxiao's best friend. What is it? Ningxi asked. Well, I'll make it short. Xian Yin wants to represent your brand, but she hasn't passed the review yet. Can you make an exception for her? After all, she's Lu Tingxiao's cousin. Huh. A meaningful chuckle came from the other end of the phone. Mo Lingtian got goosebumps. What's wrong, Boss Ning? Is there a problem? She took a look at Lu Xinyan and Guan Ziyao in the shopping area not far away, lowered her voice, and said quietly, I'm just a little surprised. I didn't know that Child Mo is such an infatuated man. He really works hard to coax Beauty Guan. You know she's doing it for another man, but you still help her without any regrets. Mo Lingtian, who was on the other end of the phone, was dumbfounded. How did you know? He didn't mention Guan Ziyao at all. No matter how I know, I can't agree to this, whether for public or private reasons. Ningxi refused him directly. Why? Money is not a problem. Just take it as helping your brothers. Ningxi rolled her eyes. Our studio has rules. Those who don't meet the requirements can't be our agent. Privately, Guan Ziyao has done so much to get close to my boyfriend. Am I stupid enough to agree? Mo Lingtian. He had kicked an iron plate. He didn't expect this little rabbit to know everything. That was amazing. Originally, this kind of problem could be solved as long as one had connections and money, but in this kind of situation, it was obvious that money would be useless. Not long after Ningxi hung up Mo Lingtian's call, Guan Ziyao's cell phone rang. How is it? Did your friend call you back? Pick it up, Lu Xinyan said excitedly. Guan Ziyao smiled and nodded. Yes, don't worry, I'll take it now. Hello? Guan Ziyao answered the phone. Hearing Mo, Guan Ziyao as she heard Shi's words. Naturally, Mo Lingtian couldn't tell her the truth. He only said that the other party didn't give in because they couldn't break the rules. Okay, I got it. It's okay. Sorry to bother you. This can't be helped. Thank you. Guan Ziyao said a few words casually and hung up the phone. I'm sorry, Xian Yin. It's still not possible. Hearing this, Lu Xinyan immediately drooped her head in disappointment. However, after a while, she still comforted Guan Ziyao. Forget it, Sister Zia. I know this studio. It's really a little difficult to deal with. I'll think of another way later. Humph, the more you don't let me represent you, the more I want to represent you. Seeing Lu Xinyan like this, Yin Rui looked amused and helpless. I wonder when you'll change your stubbornness. Chapter 973. Probably because there were a lot of goods, The shop assistant who went to get the clothes in the warehouse took a long time and didn't come back yet. During this period, Ningxi had been sitting in a secluded rest area and had no intention of leaving. Lu Xinyan looked in Ningxi's direction and immediately transferred her anger for failing to act as the agent to Ningxi. She said angrily, "Sister Ziyao, Aunt, now you believe that she deliberately followed us, right? Why would she wait for someone for so long? And there are so many places, such as a milk tea shop, a coffee shop, or a restaurant. Why did she have to sit here and wait for someone?" This time, even Guan Ziyao didn't speak. Her intuition told her that Ningxi wouldn't use such a blunt method to get close to them, but then she thought it was understandable. After all, for a woman like Ningxi, it was hard to get close to the Lu family's parents, not to mention flattering her. It was understandable that she wanted to find a chance to be obedient in front of Yin Rui, but she didn't know what this woman was going to do next if she kept following them. After several lessons from her superiors, Guan Ziyao was nervous and didn't dare to take it lightly. Lu Xinyan had a fiery temper. She couldn't bear it anymore and walked quickly to the rest area where Ningxi was. "Woman, have you had enough? Are you addicted to following me? Does my brother know that you are so shameless? You came to the clothing store but didn't buy clothes. Instead, you sat here and slept. Do you think this is your home? Do you have to be so thick-skinned?" Ningxi felt a headache coming on. She looked up coldly and said, "Have you had enough?" Seeing Ningxi's arrogant attitude, Lu Xinyan was even more furious. She was about to go all out and scold her when there was a series of messy footsteps behind her. The shop assistant who went to get the clothes came in first. Sorry, the warehouse is a bit messy. Sorry to keep you waiting. Miss Lu, all the clothes you wanted are here." Lu Xinyan's attention was diverted, and she hurried to look at the clothes. Following behind the shop assistant was the head store manager that Lu Xinyan knew. There were also a few other male employees, each carrying a stack of clothes. "Miss Lu, you're here. I'm sorry, I'm really busy today. Our boss came to the store to transfer goods, so I couldn't entertain you personally. If you need anything, just let little Zhao know." The store manager greeted Lu Xinyan politely, expressing her apology. Lu Xinyan revealed a doubtful expression. Zailing's boss? She had been in the shop for so long, but she didn't see anyone who looked like the owner. There were only a few customers coming in and out, and a busy little shop assistant. Zailing's boss seemed to be quite mysterious. When she was informed that the agent's review had not passed, she originally proposed to talk to the boss directly over the phone, and then continued to call several times. However, the answer she got every time was that the boss was very busy, and she had not been able to meet him until now. Therefore, Lu Xinyan was quite curious when she heard what the store manager said. She really wanted to meet this boss. "Store manager, is the boss here already? Why didn't I see it? It just so happens that I have some cooperation matters to discuss with your boss." Lu Xinyan looked at the store manager and asked. Chapter 974. The store manager hurriedly looked around the store but didn't find her. "Boss said she's already in the store. I'll call her." Boss, you're here." The store manager, who was about to make a call, put down her cell phone and looked at Ningxi, who was walking towards her from the corner of the lounge area. She hurriedly said, "Boss, all the goods you need have been transferred out. Please check them. Oh, by the way, Miss Lu seems to have something to talk to you about." After saying that, the manager did not forget to introduce Lu Xinyan. "Miss Lu, this is our boss. If you have anything to say, just tell her directly." "What?" As soon as the store manager finished speaking, not only Lu Xinyan, but also Guan Ziyao and Yin Rui were astonished. What did the store manager mean? Their boss was Ningxi? No, wait. Store manager, what did you say? Are you saying that this woman is your boss? Yes. Seeing Lu Xinyan's shocked expression, the store manager thought she was surprised to see Ningxi so young and beautiful. To be honest, she was also shocked for a long time when she saw her boss for the first time. So the store manager explained with a smile, "Our boss usually keeps a low profile and is too busy, so few people have seen her. Miss Lu, you came at the right time. Our boss just happened to come to the main store to transfer goods today. Otherwise, even we wouldn't have seen our boss. Ning, she was Zhe Ling's boss. The reason why she had been sitting there since she entered the store was to wait for the goods to be transferred. Hearing the store manager's words, Lu Xinyan's face alternated between green and white, like a horse lantern. Yin Rui, who had thought that Ning she was here for her, was extremely embarrassed and surprised. She didn't expect that the boss of this shop, which she thought was very good, was this woman. Guan Ziao frowned secretly and suddenly thought of a detail. She heard Ning Shi say Master Imo on the phone just now. Was she talking to Imo Lingtian on the phone just now? No wonder even Imo Lingtian couldn't make her agree. Who would have thought that Zhe Ling's boss was this woman? No matter how vigilant she was, no matter how careful she was, she couldn't have expected this result. I didn't expect Miss Ning to be Zhe Ling's boss. She's so young and promising. Guan Ziao said. You're too polite, Miss Guan. Please take your time. As for Miss Lu, I believe Director Qiao has already explained it to you. Ningxi was about to continue her work when Lu Xinyan shouted from behind. Ningxi, stop. I knew it. So it was you. You're the one who deliberately stopped me from representing you, aren't you? You're clearly abusing your position to avenge a personal grudge. Ningxi didn't want to pay attention, but with so many employees here, she had to make a statement. So, he turned around and looked at Lu Xinyan. Miss Lu, I would like to ask you a question. If you didn't have the name Lu Tingxiao, do you think any business partners would be willing to work with you after seeing your record of 10 defeats? If she didn't have Lu Tingxiao's name and the Lu family's background, Lu Xinyan didn't know what to say. Zealing is just on the right track. I'm sorry, I really can't give it to Miss Lu as a dispensable practice. Chapter 975. With that, Ningxi looked at Lu Xinyan, who was biting her lip with an embarrassed look. She paused and then continued, but I can see that Miss Lu really likes our brand. Thank you very much for your love and support. If Miss Lu really wants to represent Zealing, if you can show us your sincerity, the door of Zealing will always be open to you. Goodbye. After saying this, Ningxi turned around and left. What's the big deal? I don't care. It's just a lousy brand. Lu Xinyan was shocked by Ningxi's words, but she couldn't admit it. She lost control and cursed. No one had ever dared to say such words in front of her, and it was this hateful woman. Didn't her words imply that if she lost the protection of her family, she would be worthless? Yin Rui looked at Lu Xinyan and shook her head with disapproval on her face. Xinyan, that lass's words aren't unreasonable. If you really want to achieve something, then don't always slack off. Treat it seriously and focus on one thing. Otherwise, don't bother yourself with this and that. The Lu family doesn't need a girl like you to show her face in public. I don't want it. I don't believe I can't do it. Lu Xinyan ran out of the door angrily. Guan Ziao and Yin Rui hurried to chase her, but failed to catch up with her. Alas, she's still young and immature. She's too capricious. Yin Rui sighed. Thinking that Ningxi was only a few years older than Lu Xinyan, but had already established her own brand, Yin Rui couldn't help sighing with emotion. What happened today made her have a whole new level of respect for that woman. She thought that the woman only relied on her face to survive in the entertainment industry, but she didn't expect that the woman was different from what she knew. What she said to Xian Yin just now was also true, but this identity was really a pity. Seeing Yin Rui's gaze fell on Ningxi in the shop, Guan Ziao was surprised. She held Yin Rui's arm and walked forward, saying, Auntie, it's good that Xinyan wants to do this. If she sticks to it, maybe she'll really make some achievements. Don't I know her well? I really don't have the talent. But Xian Yin seems to be quite sad. Actually, Zealing doesn't look that good. I heard some bad rumors about Zealing's designer plagiarizing another brand, History. Why don't I contact History for Xian Yin and ask them to represent this brand? History is internationally famous, much higher than Zhe Ling. Yin Rui patted her hand. It's been hard on you to worry about her. Auntie, you're too polite. It's just a small matter. Furthermore, Xian Yin is also my friend. As Guan Ziao spoke, countless thoughts flashed through her mind. She suddenly realized that unknowingly, Without her noticing, that woman had already grown stronger step by step. She had even changed Yin Rui's mind bit by bit, from using Xiaobao to today's matter. Originally, she had thought that it would be a fair competition, and she wouldn't need to use any tricks to deal with this kind of woman. But now, she was a little flustered. After Lu Xinyan and the others left, the store manager and the employees looked worried. Boss, Lu Xinyan has a strong background. Is it really okay? Ningxi counted the goods and said casually, don't worry. As your boss, I have a strong background. Chapter 976. At night, in a high-class villa district. Xiao, why are you looking so down? What unhappy thing did he encounter? Didn't you go shopping with Auntie Lu today? Guan Rue asked when he saw his daughter sitting on the sofa in the living room in a daze. She didn't look too good. Guan Xiao snapped back to reality and said with a frown, Father, I met that woman when I was shopping with Auntie Lu today. I found out that she's the boss of a clothing brand that's been in the limelight recently and is even supported by the country. Guan Rue smiled nonchalantly. That's it? I thought it was a big deal and that Lu Tingxiao must be helping her behind the scenes. Otherwise, how could an actress like her be so capable? But I didn't expect Lu Tingxiao to go this far for her. It's as if he's preparing for her to marry into his family. Otherwise, why would he try so hard to raise her value? Guan Rue's face darkened at the thought of this. We can't let that woman continue to be so arrogant. Guan Xiao looked worried. Father, what are you going to do? Lu Tingxiao is so protective of that woman that even Auntie Lu and Uncle Lu don't dare to touch her. After spending some time with Yin Rui, she had heard a lot about that woman from her. She found out that the filial Lu Tingxiao had disobeyed his family many times for that woman, and even quarreled with Lu Chongshan several times. She couldn't believe it. Don't worry, I don't need to do anything. She's a woman who flaunts her beauty and mingles in the entertainment industry. She can't believe it. Guan Rue snorted disdainfully. Guan Xiao realized what her father meant and frowned. Father, you mean, but she's already fawning over Lu Tingxiao. Why would she bother with other men? With Lu Tingxiao as her backing, she doesn't need to sleep with him. She didn't think that woman was that stupid and easy to deal with. Guan Rue shook his head and said, Xiao, you're still too naive. There's no limit to a person's greed, especially a woman who's been living at the bottom of society since she was young. She's even more greedy, despicable, and fickle. No matter how hard she tries to hide, there'll be a day when she'll give herself away. Father, you mean you've discovered something? Guan Xiao asked tentatively. Guan Rue smiled confidently. Don't worry, Father will take care of this matter. You just need to spend more time with your Aunt Lu, lest they still hold a grudge because of what happened at the birthday banquet. Got it. Guan Xiao nodded and fell into deep thought. In the beginning, because of her pride, she didn't want to use any tricks on that woman. She also felt that it was impossible for her to lose. However, gradually, she found that things were getting out of her control. Lu Tingxiao's attitude towards that woman had repeatedly subverted her understanding. In her memory, the man who was so calm and wise, the only man who could stand shoulder to shoulder with her, was actually bewitched by such a vulgar and lowly woman. She couldn't accept this no matter what. In the end, Guan Xiao finally convinced herself that there was no need to talk about morality with this kind of person. She must wake Lu Tingxiao up and let him return to the person she knew. Chapter 977. While Zailing's business was in full swing, the crew was also progressing smoothly. The second female lead, Jin Shu, who had been delayed because of the dance competition, also joined the crew. She was a ballet dancer and had good looks, temperament, and acting skills. As for Shen Hanqin and Qifeng, ever since they had seen Ningxi in women's clothes, their attitudes towards her had improved. They cooperated with her and didn't deliberately pick on her. Unknowingly, the filming had come to an end, and the schedule was shortened by 2 months. Shun Mian was overjoyed. That morning, as soon as Ningxi arrived at the set, she bounced up to Kamingyu and handed him a pink bag. Cuckoo, cuckoo, I brought you breakfast. Looking up at the breakfast his wife had given him, Kamingyu looked gentle. Thank you, senior. Oh, and milk. Take it. Nourish your body. Ningxi handed him a carton of strawberry milk. Senior, where's mine? Where's mine? Why only Mingyu has it? Senior, you're so biased. You only bring breakfast for Mingyu every day. Chi Fong's resentful voice came from behind. Because Cuckoo caught a snake for me. Ningxi looked at Chi Fong and said meaningfully. Chi Fong clutched his chest, indicating that he had suffered a blow to his heart. He was so angry. All his hard work had gone to others. He had worked so hard to catch that snake, but Kamingyu had taken advantage of it. If he had known this would happen, he would have saved the damsel in distress. What's wrong? You don't need saving at all. But thinking about it carefully, Senior's attitude towards Kamingyu seemed to have changed since the day Kamingyu caught the snake for her. Not long after breakfast, Ningxi bounced up to Kamingyu again. Cuckoo, cuckoo, come here and practice with me. Okay. Kamingyu nodded. Senior, it's not fair. Why do you only practice with Kamingyu? Chi Fong scurried over from the corner again. His resentment almost materialized. Ningxi said matter-of-factly, because Cuckoo is not a professional. As a senior, I have to take care of him. Chi Fong almost broke down and scratched his head. Senior, don't you think you're blind? Other than you, his acting skills are the best in the cast. Also, why did you call him Cuckoo, but not me Chi-Chi? You can also let it go. Ningxi blinked. Chi-Chi, let go. That sounds awful. Chi Fong, who was despised, covered his face and ran away in tears. It was too creepy. He didn't care about Shin Hanshin. Ji Yuming and Jian Shu were girls, but why was Kamingyu more favored than him? Kamingyu was clearly not as handsome as him. Ji Yuming rested her chin on her hand and muttered, Big brother Shi, you really are too biased towards Kamingyu. Even I'm jealous. Ha 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 sigh. It's his fault for being so miserable in the drama. I can only treat him better in reality. Ningxi said with a smile. Who asked him to be my boyfriend? Hee. Shen Mian watched from the side as the group of young people got along well with each other. Her heart was filled with emotion, and she felt as if she had returned to the time 10 years ago when she first started filming. Seeing that the props for the set were almost ready, Shen Mian clapped her hands. Everyone, get ready. We're about to start filming. Okay, director. Coming. If your eyes could descend for me for a moment, if you could hear the sound of my heart breaking, if you could silently protect me, if you could silently wait for a miracle, if you could silently let yourself be like air, everyone is eating, chatting, and laughing. Tonight is such a happy night. I'm in the corner, laughing so well. The onion at the bottom of the plate is like me, always a seasoning, secretly watching you, secretly hiding myself. If you're willing to peel away my heart layer by layer, you'll find that you'll be surprised. You're my most repressed, deepest secret. I'm just an onion, forever a supporting character. I hope that I can have one more second with you, an exclusive plot. This song was like a sharp sword that pierced through everyone's disguise. Chapter 980. In the empty lounge, Ningxi blocked Kamingyu behind the door and was about to tiptoe to kiss him. What are you doing? Kamingyu raised his eyebrows and avoided her kiss. Ningxi puffed up her cheeks unhappily. To comfort your broken heart, of course. The man chuckled. Stop it. This is the set. Be careful. Ningxi was speechless. It had only been a few days. He was even more dedicated than her. How is that possible? Our crew is so low-key, and we don't have any big names. Which idiot paparazzi would come here to dig up news? Kiss. Kiss. Ningxi jumped up and down. The man had no choice but to bend down. Good boy. I only like you. Ningxi patted the man's head and kissed his cheek as if she was comforting a child. The man laughed. Don't worry. I'm fine. I'm just filming. Although he would occasionally lose control when he saw her in Shun Hanshin scenes, ever since he personally experienced the process of filming and saw how serious and focused she was, he was gradually able to separate filming from reality and control his emotions. Ningxi looked up at the arrogant man in front of her. Seeing the changes he had made for her, she had an indescribable feeling. Darling, I must have saved the world in my previous life to meet you in this life. Ningxi vowed. Then I must have been by your side in my previous life and saved the world with you. Ding. The devil's sweet talk skill was online. In the evening, at the Guan family's villa, Guan Ziao pushed open the door of the study. Father, what's up? Ziao, come here. Let me show you something. Guan Rue was smiling. He seemed to be in a good mood. What? Guan Ziao walked over, puzzled. Guan Rue pushed the laptop in front of her. Look at this. Was it the one her father had mentioned? Guan Ziao glanced at Guan Rue, then walked over nervously. Guan Ziao was stunned when she glanced at the laptop. There was a photo on the screen. The woman in the photo had a sweet smile on her face and was kissing a man on her tiptoes. The man and woman looked very intimate. The photo was clear. The woman in the photo was Ningxi, but the man in the photo was not Lu Tingxiao. After seeing this photo, Guan Ziao's eyes widened in disbelief, and then she hurriedly pressed the mouse to continue scrolling. The rest of the photos were all of Ningxi and this strange man. The two of them were very intimate. Obviously, this was not the first time they had an affair. Guan Ziao was in disbelief. How could this be? Guan Rue snorted coldly. There's nothing strange about it. I've said it before. This kind of woman is fickle and restless. She'll definitely give herself away one day. Guan Ziyao's face was full of anger. This is too much. Lu Tingxiao treated her so well. How could she do such a shameless thing? Guan Ziyao looked at the photos over and over again. What she felt was more relief than anger.